received a total of 9 envelopes labeled Hope, my concurrent position on DepEd during that time. These envelopes were handed to me mostly by Assistant Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, which she says came directly from Vice President Duterte.
With the narration of our resource speaker, she earlier manifested that she believes that those envelopes are means to influence her decision as Hope.
I was approached, by Attorney Monsayak, and he suggested in the presence of other officials who was with me that the bidders should just discuss among themselves. Mag-usap-usap na lang para hindi masayang yung pera ng 2023. I firmly asserted that the procurement must be implemented and conducted in strict adherence with the rules.
Dahil tumanggi kayo na pag-usapan ang 2022 Continuing Fund, posible na ito ang dahilan kung bakit kayo pinag-resign ni Attorney Zulueta.
Gloria Mercado is a disgruntled former employee of the Department of Education. Dapat siguro kung mag-akusa siya ng ganyan, dapat may papel siya.
I don't want to do this, but since siya na yung nagsabi, i-turn over ko na yung envelope. My name is Gloria Mercado. I was appointed as DepEd Undersecretary by President Marcos, as recommended by Vice President Sara Duterte in 2022. In February 2023, I was designated as the head of the procuring entity of DepEd. Between February 2023 to September 2023, I received a total of 9 envelopes labeled Hope. These envelopes were handed to me mostly by Assistant Secretary Sunshine Fajarda, which she says came directly from Vice President Duterte. Sometimes in October 2023, as the likelihood of a bidding failure for DepEd computerization have become apparent, I was approached, by Attorney Monsayak, and he suggested in the presence of other officials who was with me that the bidders should just discuss among themselves. Mag-usap-usap na lang para hindi masayang yung pera ng 2023. I firmly asserted that the procurement must be implemented and conducted in strict adherence with the rules. Sometimes in the 3rd or 4th week of October, I was summoned by Zulaika Lopez, the Chief of Staff of the Vice President and Undersecretary of the OBP. I was informed that I should tender my resignation effective that day. I refused to resign and I insisted on departing from service through voluntary retirement. The timing of my meeting with Ms. Zulaika struck me as more than coincidental. It gave me the impression that my candid responses was the real reason behind the push to relieve me of my office. It was as if I had become an unwelcome obstacle, despite simply doing my job as Hope and Undersecretary of Human Resources of DepEd.
In connection dito sa 37,000, ilang 37,500,000 pong cheque ang napirmahan po ninyo? Habang Hope po kayo?
Mr. Chair, I'm not very sure if it's 2 or 3.
Okay.
It should be around that.
2 or 3. So more or less, mga nasa 54 million. Ano po yung laman netong siyam na envelope na to?
It's 50,000 pesos.
So 50,000 times 9.
It's 450 po. And
450.
They issued me a receipt for that 450.
Sino po nag-issue ng receipt?
Yung the one who it's an
The one
it's
na,
an NGO that
okay,
I
so
donated
yung
the money.
pinag-donate po ninyo.
Yes.
Do you have that receipt?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Your-
Can we
yes,
have a
Mr.
copy
Chair.
of the receipt,
Yes,
ma'am?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you po.
Tama po bang sabihin, ma'am, na yun pong regular monthly envelope which you later on found out contains 50,000 per envelope ay nag-umpisa lamang nung kayo na-appoint as head of procuring entity?
As far I'm still keeping those envelopes, so I would like to say yes.
And what do you think is the reason kung bakit yung envelope nag-start lang during your appointment as Hope?
I think
Bakit
it's-
po walang envelope nung HR pa lang kayo? Tapos biglang nagka-envelope nung naging hope kayo.
I think it's like an allowance maybe for an extra work because sometimes I have to stay until midnight to look at the documents.
Why were you so uncomfortable with the envelope when you believe that that is just an allowance?
Because, Ma'am, I'm 40 years, Mr. Chair, I'm 40 years in government. The only time I have an ombudsman case is when I advise my principal not to sign an importation, when I was the Deputy Cabinet Secretary, and I advised my principal not to sign an importation because there was no rice crisis. That's my only ombudsman. I have to protect that name.
The reason why you are considering all these concerns is because you believe that the envelope is a bribe. Do you agree? Yes or no, ma'am?
It's kind of harsh word to use, bribe, because if
Or should I say,
Oh,
it is a means to influence your decision being the hope?
it could be.
You said yes to that? You said it could be.
Could be.
I wish to manifest, Mr. Chair, that on the story, on the narration of the resource speaker about this envelope she received and she refused to open until the same is donated from February 2023 to September 2023 is a means actually to influence the decision of our resource speaker being the one who approved all the decision of the BAC in behalf of the DepEd Secretary. You mentioned in this paragraph that a certain Attorney Reynold Monsayak suggested in the presence of 3 DepEd officials na pag-usapan na lang ang 2022 budget para hindi masayang. However, you firmly asserted that the procurement must be implemented and conducted in strict adherence with the rules. Do you confirm this?
Yes.
And Attorney Monsayak heard that.
Yes po.
And after this incident, ma'am, what happened?
Parang a day, mga afternoon, I got a text. When I got the text, it was a familiar text because these were the same texts that is sent to those who are asked to leave as well. So when I arrived at the OBP's office in Mandaluyong, sinabi na there's this issue of a teacher that is in my office and some other issues. So kinat ko na lang si Yusek Solaika, sabi ko, in my 40 years in government, I knew that I work on trust. So if the principal doesn't trust me anymore, then you don't have to find reason for me to go. So I'm ready to resign, to retire.
For the record, ma'am, did you resign or did you retire?
I'm being asked to resign. I did not. I retired. I
You
applied
retired.
for retirement.
So when did you retire?
Effective November 1.
So that is 1 month
No.
from the supposed date when you're supposed to retire?
They don't like 1 month. I was actually trying to ask for December 30, but they wanted it on that day that they spoke to me.
Sasang-ayon po ba kayo if I would say na yung pagtanggi nyo kay Attorney Reynold Monsayak na pag-usapan na lang yung 2022 continuing fund ang dahilan kung bakit kayo pinagre-resign ni Attorney Zulueta?
That's very speculative, ma'am.
From your point of view, ma'am, it can be right, it can be wrong, but from your point of view,
It could be.
it could be the reason. Dahil tumanggi kayo na pag-usapan ang 2022 continuing fund, posible na ito ang dahilan kung bakit kayo pinag-resign ni Attorney Zulueta.
Dapat siguro kung mag-akusa siya ng ganyan, dapat may papel siya. Tulad ng ako, pag inaakusahan ako, pag sumasagot ako, binibigay ko yung papel. Gloria Mercado is a disgruntled former employee of the Department of Education. She was let go because of loss of trust and confidence sa Office of the Secretary.
I think, I don't want to do this, but since siya na yung nagsabi, i-turn over ko na yung envelope. The envelopes where the money was.
Comsec? Comsec?
So
Paki-
it's 9 envelopes.
Kuha po yung envelope.
So it says hope and the amount is there. Kasi ang sakit naman nun, ordinaryo lang akong trabahante tapos inano ka ng Vice President, di ba? It's very painful.